categorically state that the McDonnell Douglas F-15C and its derivative, the Strike Eagle, are two of my favourite aircraft of all time, and I'll be covering the latter in a dedicated video in the future. Today though, we're going to be exploring the F-15 and its principal iteration as a dedicated air superiority fighter. An all-weather, single-seat tactical jet, the F-15 is distinguished by its impeccable record of over 100 victories and 0 losses in air-to-air combat, as well as by its amazing performance attributes and longevity. The emergence of the F-15 in the early 1970s was rooted largely in the American experience during the Vietnam War, where it was learned that a dedicated high-performance air superiority aircraft was sorely needed. The downing of 2 Republic F-105 Thunder Chiefs, a successful fighter bomber that dominated the early years of the war, on the 4th of April 1965, to supposedly obsolete Korean War-era MiG-17s, provided good evidence for this case. Indeed, the F-105 was the only American aircraft to be withdrawn from Vietnam, due to high loss rates. Also of importance was the unveiling of the Soviet MiG-25 Foxbat at Domodedovo Airfield in 1967, a jet that we have previously covered on this channel. This informed the development of the F-15 as well. The MiG-25 was tremendously fast, with a theoretical top speed of Mach 3.2. American military intelligence initially feared the aircraft owing to its huge engines and very large wings. It was thought that the MiG-25 was a super fighter of sorts, possessing high speed and manoeuvrability. Doubts started to emerge about the ability of US fighter technology to compete, given the prevailing view that the Soviet MiG-23 was generally superior to the McDonnell Douglas F-4 Phantom II. Taken together, all of these developments led to the pursuit of pure air superiority fighters for the Navy and Air Force, the former leading to the production of the Grumman F-14 Tomcat of Top Gun fame, and the latter to the F-15 Eagle. McDonnell Aircraft formalised the concept for the F-15 in 1967, while engaged in competition with Fairchild Hiller and North American Rockwell. McDonnell built upon the lessons of Vietnam, evolving to the rapidly changing nature of air-to-air combat in the age of the jet engine. Following 2 years of rigorous testing and development, the US Air Force awarded McDonnell Douglas the Advanced Tactical Fighter contract. They had placed first among the 3 competing manufacturers in all phases of the program, and had the lowest contract price to boot. James S. McDonnell, the founder of McDonnell Aircraft, would christen the F-15 the Eagle on June 26, 1972, and just over a month later test pilot Irv Burroughs would take the first F-15 to the skies at Edwards Air Force Base, California, in a historic first flight. 6 months later, the Air Force approved the Eagle for full-scale production, and it entered the US Air Force inventory in November 1974. The F-15 is powered by 2 Pratt & Whitney F-100 PW220 afterburning turbofans, delivering 14,590 pound-feet of thrust each when dry, and 23,770 pound-feet when using afterburn. At high altitude, the F-15 can attain a maximum speed of Mach 2.5 or Mach 1.2 at sea level. It has a combat range of 1,061 nautical miles, a service ceiling of 65,000 feet, and can climb to 30,000 feet in around 60 seconds. Its low wing loading and high thrust-to-weight ratio enable it to turn tightly without compromising airspeed, and it was the first US jet fighter with enough thrust to accelerate vertically. In early 1975, an effort was made to smash all the world time-to-climb records. 5 were held by the F-4 Phantom II, another McDonnell Douglas aircraft, but the other 3 were possessed by the Soviet MiG-25. Time to climb is an important attribute because of the advantage altitude confers in a dogfight. It also comes into play when scrambling to intercept hostile aircraft. Therefore, this situation presented an excellent opportunity to score political points before the aircraft could clash together in actual combat. An early pre-production version of the F-15A, nicknamed Streak Eagle, was left unpainted and stripped of most of its avionics to reduce weight and demonstrate the acceleration capabilities of the aircraft. Flown by 3 different pilots, the Streak Eagle would break 8 time-to-climb world records between January 16 and February 1, 1975, at Grand Forks Air Force Base, North Dakota. Taking off in freezing conditions on the 16th of January, The first record will be broken by Major Robert Smith when he performed a 5G pull-up and accelerated past 3,000 meters, or 9,840 feet, in just 27.57 seconds, destroying the previous record of 34.5 seconds. The 6,000, 9,000 and 12,000 meter records would fall later on the same day to different pilots. The 15,000 meter record will be broken with a startling time of 77.05 seconds, breaking the previous time by an astonishing 37.5 seconds. The Foxbat's records for 20,000, 25,000 and 30,000 meters would also fall in the following 2 weeks. The Streak Eagle broke the 30,000 meter or 98,425 feet record in under 3.5 minutes, coasting up to 103,000 feet before beginning the descent. In 1980, the Streak Eagle was delivered to the National Museum of the US Air Force at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in Dayton, Ohio, where it is currently stored, having fulfilled its role as a development improving aircraft. The F-15 carries a variety of air-to-air armaments, including the AIM-7 Sparrow, a semi-active radar-guided homing missile, the AIM-120 AMRAAM, a beyond visual range radar-guided missile, as well as the short-range heat-seeking AIM-9 Sidewinder. It also has an internal M61 Vulcan Gatling cannon mounted in the right wing root. The Eagle's avionics are sophisticated, comprising a heads-up display, the versatile APG 63 and 70 pulse Doppler radar, inertial guidance system, flight instruments, ultra-high frequency communication, tactical air navigation and instrument landing system receivers, all managed by an internal computer. In particular, the heads-up display projects all of the essential information for target acquisition and engagement, so that the pilot doesn't have to look down at the cockpit controls, vastly increasing efficiency. This info is visible under any light conditions and changes in accordance with weapon selection, allowing the pilot to engage targets and release weapons at the same time. The radar systems are able to look up at high-flying targets, but also have look-down, shoot-down capability. They can also distinguish meaningful targets without interference from ground clutter. The onboard electronic warfare and countermeasure system provides updates from the radar warning receiver and automatically releases chaff and/or flares against appropriate threats. Construction-wise, the F-15A, the single-seat, all-weather air superiority version, of which 384 were made, and B versions, two-seat trainer, but only 61 were made. They were produced between 1972 and 1979. These versions were then surpassed by the F-15C, and 483 of these were constructed between 1979 and 1985. The D version, of which 92 were built during the same time frame, is an upgraded version of the B trainer. F-15s in the hands of the Israeli Air Force were the first to face an adversary in air-to-air combat, downing more than 50 Syrian fighters without loss in the late 70s and early 80s. Another interesting fact is that the Israelis are the only operator of the air superiority variants to develop its air-to-ground capabilities, mainly because the range of the F-15 surpassed anything else in their inventory at this time. Israel successfully used the F-15 in a small number of strike missions, using GBU-15 and Mark 82 bombs, and they have since upgraded these aircraft to carry the JDAM munition and the Popeye missile. Also in the early 80s, Royal Saudi Air Force F-15Cs successfully downed 2 Iranian Air Force F-4 Phantom IIs, and the US Air Force experimented with the F-15A as the first stage of the ASM-135 anti-satellite missile. Although this program was discontinued in 1988, it nevertheless demonstrated that the F-15A could be equipped with a single ASAT missile on the centerline and successfully retire satellites in orbit. In May 1983, a famous and unique event provided evidence of the F-15's durability. Again, an Israeli F-15D model collided with a fellow A-4 Skyhawk during a training exercise over the Negev region. The twin-seater jet was able to limp back to base with most of its right wing completely sheared off. That this was possible was largely due to the large amount of engine thrust and generous lift provided by the aircraft's design, as well as landing at twice the normal speed to maintain lift. The C, D and E variants would be deployed to the Persian Gulf for Operation Desert Shield and Desert Storm, and completely wiped out the Iraqi Air Force, accounting for 36 of the 39 US Air Force victories. C and D fighters were used for air superiority, the C versions achieving 34 confirmed kills of Iraqi aircraft in 1991, mainly as a result of missile fire. 5 MiG-29 Fulcrums, 2 MiG-25 Foxbats, 2 Su-25 Frogfoots, among other predominantly Soviet-produced inventory. Amazingly, air superiority was achieved within the first 3 days of the conflict, which is frankly ridiculous. US Air Force F-15Cs would later down 4 Yugoslav MiG-29 fighters during Operation Allied Force as part of the NATO deployment in Kosovo in 1999. More recently though, the last F-15A model was retired in 2009, but several examples are on display around the world, for instance at the American Air Museum near Duxford, Cambridgeshire, England. The existing C and D models in service are currently supported by the new 5th generation Lockheed Martin F-22 Raptor. These versions are expected to be phased out in the mid-2020s, however the older F-15C airframes in the possession of the Air National Guard are around 37 years old on average and will be replaced with newly built F-15EX Eagle IIs. The Eagle II was revealed a couple of months ago, with the US Air Force set to acquire 144 total airframes from Boeing. The Eagle II retains up to 80% of the original F-15 and is able to use up to 90% of the same support equipment, but it does possess improved radar, computing power, enhanced sensors, and more weaponry than its predecessors. As a complement to 5th generation assets, the F-15 is faster than the F-22 and F-35 Lightning II, but will also be capable of carrying the new Stormbreaker bomb, as well as hypersonic munitions. In all variants, over 1,500 F-15s have been built, and the aircraft continues to play a dominant role in the US Air Force arsenal, and will likely do so through to 2040 thanks to ongoing updates with leading-edge technology. Since the merger of McDonnell Douglas with Boeing in 1997, the F-15 has evolved with up-to-date technology, and several advanced models have been developed for international users such as Japan, Israel and Saudi Arabia. It seems then that the relevance of the Eagle is secured, and its legacy will continue long into the future. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the content, please consider subscribing to the channel, and I'll see you in the next episode of Scorch the Sky.